In life, many of us are taught that winning is everything, that success is the ultimate goal, and that failure is something to be feared, avoided, and even despised. However, in Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn, renowned leadership expert JohnCMaxwell offers a fresh and transformative perspective on failure. He argues that while success is important, it is our losses, setbacks, and failures that hold the most valuable lessons for personal growth. According to Maxwell, winning isn't everything, but learning is. Maxwell starts by posing an essential question. What if failure is not the end of the road, but the beginning of a new journey? What if the losses we experience, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal goals, are not to be viewed as permanent setbacks, but as opportunities for growth and self-improvement? His philosophy is grounded in the idea that success and failure are not binary opposites, but interconnected parts of the same process. Sometimes you win, yes, but when you don't, there's always something to be learned. In the introduction, Maxwell emphasizes that learning from failure requires a mindset shift. Many people view losses as obstacles to avoid, but Maxwell insists that losses can be leveraged for personal development. The key is to shift from a failure is final mindset to one that views failure as temporary and transformative. Every loss, no matter how painful, contains valuable lessons that can propel us toward future success. But this transformation only happens when we embrace a learning attitude, actively seeking out the lessons embedded in our experiences. Maxwell's overarching message is that life's greatest teacher is not success, but failure. Our character is not built in moments of triumph, but in the trenches of defeat. He invites readers to embrace the discomfort of failure, to ask themselves, what can I learn from this? And to use each loss as a stepping stone to greater success. Success is not about avoiding failure, but about learning how to turn every setback into a growth opportunity. In essence, Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn is about reframing how we think about failure. Rather than fearing it, Maxwell urges readers to face failure head-on and recognize its potential for teaching powerful lessons. With this book, Maxwell aims to guide readers through a process of self-discovery, teaching them how to leverage every loss as an opportunity for growth and transformation. By learning how to learn from failure, readers will be better equipped to handle life's challenges and turn their losses into future victories. Part 1. The Value of Losses. Maxwell begins the first part of the book by exploring the inherent value of losses. He argues that losing is not something to be avoided at all costs, but something to be embraced as part of the learning process. For Maxwell, the road to success is not a straight line, but a winding path filled with twists, turns, and setbacks. It is in these setbacks that we find the greatest opportunities for growth. Chapter 1. Humility. The Spirit of Learning. Maxwell opens the first chapter by focusing on humility, which he considers the foundation of all learning. Humility, as Maxwell describes, is the essential quality that enables individuals to learn from their mistakes. It is the opposite of arrogance and pride, which can blind us to our flaws and prevent us from seeing where we went wrong. Humility allows us to admit that we are not perfect, that we do not have all the answers, and that we still have room to grow. Maxwell explains that when we experience failure, our ego often takes a hit. The sting of defeat can be painful, but it is in this very discomfort that humility is born. Humility is the realization that we are fallible, and that life is a continuous journey of learning. Maxwell emphasizes that without humility, we risk falling into arrogance, where we either deny our failures or blame others for our mistakes. Arrogance prevents growth, while humility opens the door to self-reflection and learning. Maxwell provides real-life examples of how humility has played a critical role in the success of individuals across various fields. He points out that many of the world's most successful people, from business leaders to athletes, experience significant failures before they achieve their greatest successes. However, what set these individuals apart was not their ability to avoid failure, but their humility in acknowledging their mistakes and learning from them. They were able to put their pride aside, recognize their shortcomings, and take the necessary steps to improve. For Maxwell, humility is not about self-deprecation or thinking less of oneself. Rather, it is about having a realistic view of oneself, acknowledging both strengths and weaknesses. Humility allows us to be teachable, and being teachable is the spirit of learning. Without humility, we are closed off to new ideas, new perspectives, and new ways of thinking. With humility, we remain open to growth, understanding that there is always more to learn. In closing this chapter, Maxwell encourages readers to cultivate humility by embracing their mistakes and being willing to learn from them. He urges readers to adopt the mindset that no matter how much they know, there is always more to learn. True wisdom comes from acknowledging that we are perpetual students in the school of life, and that every failure is an opportunity to become wiser and better. Chapter 2, Reality, the Foundation of Learning. In the second chapter, Maxwell explores the concept of reality and its role in the learning process. He asserts that facing reality, no matter how uncomfortable, is essential for learning from failure. Too often, people avoid or deny the truth of their situation when things go wrong. They create excuses, blame external factors, or convince themselves that the failure wasn't their fault. However, Maxwell insists that real learning only begins when we confront the truth. When we are willing to look at the situation as it really is, without sugarcoating or avoidance. Maxwell argues that facing reality is the foundation of all learning because it provides clarity about what went wrong and what needs to change. If we refuse to acknowledge the truth of our situation, we remain stuck in a cycle of denial, unable to move forward. Denial keeps us in a state of inertia, while facing reality propels us toward growth. He explains that while facing reality can be painful, it is also empowering. When we confront the truth, we take the first step toward making positive changes. Maxwell uses the metaphor of a ship's captain navigating through a storm. Denying the existence of the storm will only lead the ship to disaster, but acknowledging the storm allows the captain to take corrective action and steer the ship to safety. In the same way, acknowledging our failures allows us to take corrective action in our lives. Maxwell also addresses the common human tendency to view failures through a lens of emotion rather than logic. When we fail, our initial response is often emotional. We feel hurt, frustrated, or angry. While these emotions are natural, they can cloud our judgment and prevent us from seeing the situation clearly. Maxwell encourages readers to take a step back from their emotions and look at failures from a more objective perspective. By doing so, they can analyze what went wrong and make better decisions moving forward. In practical terms, Maxwell suggests that readers ask themselves critical questions when faced with failure. What really happened? What could I have done differently? What factors were within my control and what were not? By answering these questions honestly, individuals can gain a clearer understanding of their failures and use this understanding as a foundation for learning. In conclusion, Maxwell stresses that reality is the starting point of all learning. Only when we face the truth can we begin to learn from our mistakes and make the necessary changes for future success. Ignoring or denying reality may provide temporary comfort, but it ultimately leads to stagnation. Learning, growth, and success all begin with an honest confrontation with the truth. Chapter 3, Responsibility, the first step of learning. In the third chapter, Maxwell delves into the concept of responsibility as the first step toward meaningful learning. He asserts that taking responsibility for our actions, decisions, and failures is a crucial part of the learning process. When things go wrong, it's easy to point fingers, blame others, or attribute failure to external circumstances. However, Maxwell argues that true growth comes only when we take full ownership of our role in the outcome. Maxwell emphasizes that taking responsibility is not about self-blame or dwelling on guilt. It's about empowerment. When we take responsibility, we acknowledge that we have the power to change our situation and learn from our mistakes. By accepting responsibility, we shift from a victim mentality to a mindset of control and agency. Instead of feeling helpless or defeated by failure, we recognize that we have the ability to make different choices in the future. One of the key insights in this chapter is that responsibility is liberating. Maxwell explains that when we blame others or external factors for our failures, we give away our power. We become passive participants in our own lives, waiting for circumstances to change rather than actively working to improve. On the other hand, when we take responsibility, we reclaim our power. We recognize that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond to it. Maxwell shares several examples of successful individuals who achieved greatness by taking responsibility for their failures. These individuals did not waste time blaming others or making excuses. Instead, they looked inward, identified their own mistakes, and made the necessary changes to improve. This willingness to take responsibility, Maxwell argues, is what separates those who learn and grow from those who remain stuck in failure. Maxwell also highlights the importance of self-reflection in the process of taking responsibility. He encourages readers to regularly reflect on their actions and decisions, asking themselves what they could have done differently and how they can improve in the future. By engaging in this process of self-examination, individuals develop greater self-awareness and are better equipped to learn from their mistakes. In closing, Maxwell emphasizes that taking responsibility is the first step toward growth and learning. It is a sign of maturity and self-awareness, and it empowers individuals to make positive changes in their lives. Without responsibility, there can be no true learning. By accepting ownership of our failures, we open the door to personal growth and future success. Chapter 4. Improvement, the focus of learning. Maxwell transitions into the fourth chapter by discussing improvement as the ultimate focus of learning. For Maxwell, the goal of learning from failure is not simply to avoid repeating the same mistakes, but to actively pursue personal and professional improvement. Every setback, mistake, and failure is an opportunity to become better, to refine skills, and to strengthen character. Maxwell introduces the idea that improvement is a process, not a destination. Success is not about reaching a state of perfection, but about continually striving to become better than you were before. Whether the improvement is large or small, the key is to focus on progress. Maxwell encourages readers to adopt a growth mindset, where the emphasis is not on avoiding failure, but on learning and growing through each experience. To facilitate improvement, Maxwell recommends that readers develop a habit of self-assessment. This involves regularly evaluating your performance, identifying areas for growth, and setting specific goals for improvement. He also stresses the importance of seeking feedback from others. While self-assessment is valuable, external perspectives can provide additional insights that you may not see on your own. By being open to constructive criticism, you gain valuable information that can guide your improvement efforts. Maxwell also encourages readers to focus on small, incremental improvements. Rather than trying to achieve dramatic changes overnight, he suggests making small, consistent adjustments that lead to long-term growth. These incremental changes, compounded over time, result in significant improvements. The key is to stay committed to the process of improvement, even when progress seems slow or difficult. In conclusion, Maxwell emphasizes that improvement should be the central focus of learning from failure. Every failure is an opportunity to get better, and every small step forward brings you closer to your goals. Success is not about achieving perfection, but about consistently striving to improve. By focusing on improvement, you turn every loss into a valuable lesson that propels you toward future success. Chapter 5. Hope, the motivation of learning. In the fifth chapter, Maxwell explores the role of hope as the driving force behind learning. Without hope, he argues, it is difficult to maintain the motivation needed to persevere through failure and continue learning. Hope is the belief that things can and will get better, even in the face of setbacks. It is the light at the end of the tunnel that keeps us moving forward when the path seems dark and uncertain. Maxwell explains that hope is not about wishful thinking or unrealistic optimism. Rather, it is about having a deep sense of belief in your ability to learn, grow, and improve. Hope is the fuel that keeps you going when times are tough, reminding you that every failure is temporary and that success is still within reach. Without hope, it's easy to become discouraged and give up. But with hope, you have the strength to keep pushing forward. Maxwell shares stories of individuals who overcame significant obstacles because they held on to hope. These individuals faced repeated failures, but they never lost sight of their belief that success was possible. It was this hope that kept them motivated to keep learning, adapting, and improving, even when the odds seem stacked against them. Maxwell also addresses the importance of nurturing hope in your own life. He suggests surrounding yourself with positive influences, setting realistic goals, and celebrating small victories along the way. By doing so, you reinforce your belief in your ability to succeed, which keeps hope alive. Additionally, Maxwell encourages readers to cultivate a sense of faith, whether in themselves, in a higher power, or in the process of growth and learning. In closing, Maxwell emphasizes that hope is the motivation that sustains learning. It is what allows us to keep moving forward, even when success seems distant. By holding on to hope, we maintain the belief that our efforts will eventually pay off, and that every failure brings us one step closer to achieving our goals. Chapter 6: Teachability, the Pathway of Learning. In the 6th chapter, Maxwell discusses teachability as the key to turning losses into learning opportunities. Teachability, according to Maxwell, is the quality of being open to new ideas, willing to accept feedback, and eager to learn. It is the attitude that says, "I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn." Teachability is the pathway through which all learning occurs. Maxwell explains that without teachability, it is impossible to grow. Those who believe they already know everything, or who are unwilling to change their ways, are stuck in a fixed mindset that prevents learning. Teachability requires humility, a willingness to admit that you don't have all the answers and that there is always room for improvement. Maxwell stresses that teachability is not just about learning from formal education or books. It is about being open to learning from all of life's experiences. Every situation, whether it's a success or a failure, contains lessons that can help you grow. The teachable person actively seeks out these lessons and applies them to their life. He also highlights the importance of being open to constructive criticism. While it can be difficult to hear feedback, especially when it points out your flaws or mistakes, Maxwell encourages readers to view criticism as an opportunity for growth. Those who are teachable are not defensive when criticized. Instead, they welcome feedback as a valuable tool for improvement. In conclusion, Maxwell emphasizes that teachability is the gateway to learning. Without it, we close ourselves off to new ideas, feedback, and growth opportunities. By remaining teachable, we stay open to learning from every experience, turning our losses into valuable lessons that guide us toward future success. Part 2: The Lessons of Losses. In this section of Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn, JohnCMaxwell shifts his focus from the mindset of learning from losses to the specific lessons that can be drawn from adversity, problems, bad experiences, change, and maturity. These challenges, which often come disguised as setbacks, hold the potential for profound personal growth and development if we are willing to look at them from the right perspective. Maxwell believes that learning how to navigate these difficult situations is crucial for success, and that by reframing our experiences, we can unlock new levels of understanding and strength. Chapter 7: Adversity, the Catalyst for Learning. Maxwell opens this chapter with a simple truth. Adversity is a universal experience. No one is immune to hardship, but while some see adversity as a roadblock, Maxwell argues that it can serve as the greatest catalyst for growth and learning. He makes the case that it is not the adversity itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. Adversity pushes us to confront our weaknesses, challenge our limitations, and develop resilience. Maxwell likens adversity to the process of refining metal. Just as metal is forged and strengthened by intense heat, people are shaped and hardened by the difficulties they face in life. He highlights that many of the world's most successful individuals have overcome significant adversity, and it is precisely those hardships that led them to achieve greatness. In fact, without adversity, Maxwell argues, personal growth would be limited. Without challenges, we would have no reason to stretch our capabilities, develop resilience, or sharpen our problem-solving skills. Adversity provides opportunities for introspection and reflection. It forces us to ask ourselves tough questions. What went wrong? What can I do better? What lessons can I take from this experience? By encouraging readers to adopt this reflective mindset, Maxwell emphasizes that adversity becomes less about the pain and more about the lessons learned. It is through adversity that we learn to persist, to develop a growth mindset, and to become more adaptable. Maxwell also stresses that adversity reveals our true character. When things are going well, it's easy to maintain a positive attitude. But when life throws unexpected challenges our way, our character is tested. Do we rise to the occasion and keep pushing forward, or do we crumble under the weight of hardship? Maxwell believes that adversity has the potential to bring out the best in us, our courage, our perseverance, and our determination, if we approach it with the right mindset. Throughout the chapter, Maxwell shares examples of individuals who faced extreme adversity but emerged stronger and more successful. He tells stories of entrepreneurs who lost everything only to rebuild their businesses better than before. Athletes who suffered career-threatening injuries but returned to the top of their sport, and leaders who faced overwhelming opposition but remained steadfast in their vision. These stories serve as powerful reminders that adversity, though painful, is often the very thing that pushes us toward our greatest achievements. Maxwell closes the chapter by encouraging readers to reframe their perspective on adversity. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid or fear, we should see it as a necessary part of the journey toward success. Adversity may not be pleasant, but it is through the trials and tribulations of life that we are forged into stronger, more capable individuals. Chapter 8: Problems, Opportunities for Learning. In this chapter, Maxwell takes a deep dive into the concept of problems and how they can serve as opportunities for learning and growth. He begins by acknowledging that problems are an inevitable part of life. No matter how hard we try to avoid them, problems will always arise. However, Maxwell's key insight is that problems are not inherently negative. Rather, they are opportunities in disguise. Maxwell challenges the common notion that problems are setbacks or obstacles that hinder progress. Instead, he encourages readers to see problems as challenges that push us to think differently, to innovate, and to stretch beyond our current capabilities. Problems force us out of our comfort zones and compel us to find creative solutions. In this sense, problems are catalysts for growth. He explains that the way we approach problems determines whether they will defeat us or help us grow. Those who see problems as roadblocks often become overwhelmed and discouraged, while those who view problems as opportunities are more likely to find solutions and emerge stronger. Maxwell encourages readers to adopt a problem-solving mindset, which involves focusing on solutions rather than dwelling on the problem itself. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of perspective when dealing with problems. He suggests that problems are often not as bad as they seem, and our perception of them can either amplify or diminish their impact. By maintaining a positive attitude and viewing problems as temporary and solvable, we are better equipped to handle them effectively. Maxwell shares several stories of individuals who faced significant problems in their careers or personal lives, but were able to turn those problems into opportunities for growth and success. One key takeaway from this chapter is that problems provide us with the chance to learn new skills and develop new strategies. When we are faced with a problem, we are forced to think critically and creatively. This process of problem solving not only helps us overcome the immediate issue, but also equips us with skills that can be applied to future challenges. Maxwell also highlights that problems can lead to breakthroughs. Some of the greatest innovations and advancements in history have come from individuals who faced seemingly insurmountable problems. These individuals didn't give up when they encountered difficulties. Instead, they used the problem as an opportunity to push the boundaries of what was possible. Maxwell encourages readers to adopt this same mindset, seeing problems not as barriers to success, but as stepping stones toward greater achievements. In conclusion, Maxwell urges readers to embrace problems as a natural part of life and as opportunities for growth. By changing the way we think about problems and adopting a proactive, problem-solving attitude, we can turn even the most challenging situations into opportunities for learning and development. Chapter 9: Bad Experiences. The perspective for learning. Bad experiences are an inevitable part of life, but Maxwell argues in this chapter that it is not the experiences themselves that define us. It is how we respond to them. Everyone faces disappointment, failure, and hardship at some point. But what sets successful people apart is their ability to learn from these bad experiences and use them as a springboard for growth. Maxwell explains that perspective is everything when it comes to dealing with bad experiences. While it's natural to feel frustrated or discouraged in the face of adversity, those who are able to maintain a positive, growth-oriented perspective are the ones who ultimately succeed. Bad experiences, when viewed through the right lens, can provide valuable lessons and insights that contribute to personal and professional development. Maxwell emphasizes that it's not about denying the pain or difficulty of bad experiences. Rather, it's about reframing those experiences in a way that allows you to extract the lessons from them. He suggests asking questions such as, "What can I learn from this?" and "How can this experience help me grow?" By focusing on the potential for growth rather than the pain of the experience, you shift your mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. One of the key points Maxwell makes in this chapter is that bad experiences often serve as wake-up calls. They force us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, our decisions, or our circumstances. While this can be difficult, it is often these moments of reckoning that lead to the most significant personal transformations. Bad experiences provide us with an opportunity to reassess our priorities, make necessary changes, and emerge stronger and more resilient. Maxwell also discusses the importance of forgiveness in learning from bad experiences. Holding on to anger, resentment, or bitterness over past failures or wrongdoings only serves to weigh us down. By forgiving others and ourselves, we free up mental and emotional energy that can be used for growth and learning. Forgiveness is not about excusing the bad experience, but about releasing its hold on us and allowing ourselves to move forward. In this chapter, Maxwell shares several examples of individuals who turned their bad experiences into learning opportunities. He highlights the stories of people who faced significant setbacks, whether in their careers, relationships, or personal goals, but who used those experiences to gain new insights, develop stronger character, and ultimately achieve greater success. Maxwell concludes the chapter by encouraging readers to adopt a growth mindset when it comes to bad experiences. Instead of viewing them as purely negative or as things to be avoided, we should see them as opportunities for learning. Every bad experience holds the potential for a valuable lesson, and it is up to us to find that lesson and apply it to our lives. Chapter 10. Change, the price of learning. In this chapter, Maxwell tackles the subject of change and its role in the learning process. He begins by acknowledging that most people are resistant to change, especially when it forces them out of their comfort zones. However, he argues that change is a necessary part of growth. In fact, learning and change are inseparable. True learning requires us to change the way we think, act, or approach situations. Maxwell explains that change is often the price we must pay for progress. Whether it's changing a bad habit, adopting a new mindset, or shifting our approach to a problem, change is an essential component of personal development. He emphasizes that while change can be uncomfortable, it is through this discomfort that we grow. One of the key points Maxwell makes in this chapter is that change is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, life is constantly changing, and those who refuse to adapt are left behind. Maxwell encourages readers to embrace change rather than resist it. He argues that the ability to adapt and evolve in the face of change is one of the most important skills we can develop. Maxwell also discusses the importance of proactive change. Instead of waiting for circumstances to force change upon us, we should actively seek out opportunities for growth and improvement. This might involve making difficult decisions, such as leaving a job that no longer serves us, ending toxic relationships, or stepping into new and unfamiliar territory. Proactive change is about taking control of your life and making the necessary adjustments to achieve your goals. In this chapter, Maxwell shares several stories of individuals who embraced change and, as a result, experienced significant personal and professional growth. He highlights the stories of people who made bold decisions to change their careers, their mindsets, or their approaches to challenges, and who ultimately achieved greater success because of their willingness to adapt. Maxwell concludes the chapter by encouraging readers to view change as an opportunity, not a threat. He argues that change, though often difficult, is the price we pay for learning and growth. By embracing change and being willing to step out of our comfort zones, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and greater success. Chapter 10. Change, the price of learning. In this chapter, Maxwell tackles the subject of change and its role in the learning process. He begins by acknowledging that most people are resistant to change, especially when it forces them out of their comfort zones. However, he argues that change is a necessary part of growth. In fact, learning and change are inseparable. True learning requires us to change the way we think, act, or approach situations. Maxwell explains that change is often the price we must pay for progress. Whether it's changing a bad habit, adopting a new mindset, or shifting our approach to a problem, change is an essential component of personal development. He emphasizes that while change can be uncomfortable, it is through this discomfort that we grow. One of the key points Maxwell makes in this chapter is that change is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, life is constantly changing, and those who refuse to adapt are left behind. Maxwell encourages readers to embrace change rather than resist it. He argues that the ability to adapt and evolve in the face of change is one of the most important skills we can develop. Maxwell also discusses the importance of proactive change. Instead of waiting for circumstances to force change upon us, we should actively seek out opportunities for growth and improvement. This might involve making difficult decisions, such as leaving a job that no longer serves us, ending toxic relationships, or stepping into new and unfamiliar territory. Proactive change is about taking control of your life and making the necessary adjustments to achieve your goals. In this chapter, Maxwell shares several stories of individuals who embraced change and, as a result, experienced significant personal and professional growth. He highlights the stories of people who made bold decisions to change their careers, their mindsets, or their approaches to challenges, and who ultimately achieved greater success because of their willingness to adapt. Maxwell concludes the chapter by encouraging readers to view change as an opportunity, not a threat. He argues that change, though often difficult, is the price we pay for learning and growth. By embracing change and being willing to step out of our comfort zones, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and greater success. Chapter 11. Maturity, the value of learning. Maxwell wraps up Part 2 by discussing maturity as the ultimate result of learning from both wins and losses. He defines maturity not as a destination but as a continuous process of growth, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. For Maxwell, maturity is the ability to handle failures and setbacks with grace, to see challenges as opportunities for growth, and to maintain a balanced perspective on life. Maxwell explains that maturity comes from years of learning from experiences, both good and bad. It is through facing adversity, solving problems, and embracing change that we develop the emotional resilience and wisdom that define maturity. Maturity allows us to remain steady in the face of failure, to see setbacks as part of the journey, and to approach life with a sense of calm and confidence. One of the key points Maxwell makes in this chapter is that maturity is about perspective. Those who are mature understand that success is not a straight path, but one filled with twists, turns, and detours. They are not easily discouraged by setbacks because they recognize that every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Maturity gives us the patience and resilience to keep moving forward, even when the road is difficult. Maxwell also discusses the importance of emotional intelligence in achieving maturity. He argues that mature individuals are not ruled by their emotions. Instead, they have learned to manage their emotions in a healthy and productive way. This emotional intelligence allows them to navigate difficult situations with grace and to maintain positive relationships even in the face of conflict or disagreement. In conclusion, Maxwell emphasizes that maturity is the ultimate value of learning. It is through years of experience, reflection, and personal growth that we develop the maturity needed to handle life's challenges with wisdom and grace. Maturity is not about avoiding failure, but about learning from it and using those lessons to become a stronger, more capable individual. Part 3. Winning is not the only thing. John C. Maxwell, in the final part of Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn, shifts his focus to the broader perspective on success and winning. He presents the idea that the concept of winning should not be the sole focus of our efforts. Instead, the emphasis should be placed on the lessons learned along the way, especially in times of defeat or failure. The idea is that learning, growing, and developing are the most important outcomes of any experience. And it's this learning that truly leads to long-term success and fulfillment. Chapter 12. Winning isn't everything, but learning is. Maxwell begins this concluding chapter by challenging the widely accepted notion that winning is everything. While winning is often portrayed as the ultimate goal in both personal and professional endeavors, Maxwell argues that this mindset can lead to a narrow and limited view of success. He asserts that learning, not winning, is the most important element in achieving long-term success and fulfillment. Winning, while satisfying, is often the result of lessons learned through failure, perseverance, and growth. Maxwell highlights that people who focus solely on winning often miss out on the valuable lessons that come from setbacks and failures. In fact, it's in our losses that we have the most to learn. He emphasizes that failure isn't an inevitable part of life, but how we respond to it is what determines our ultimate success. He urges readers to reframe their perspective on failure, seeing it not as a negative outcome but as an essential component of the learning process. Maxwell points out that many of the most successful individuals in history did not achieve success without first experiencing numerous failures. Figures like Thomas Edison, who famously failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb, or Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school basketball team, are prime examples of people who turned their losses into learning opportunities that propelled them to greatness. These individuals did not view failure as a final destination, but as a stepping stone on the path to success. Maxwell also discusses the importance of adopting a growth mindset, the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. With this mindset, people understand that failure is not a reflection of their inherent worth or abilities, but simply a temporary setback that can be overcome with the right attitude and approach. He contrasts this with a fixed mindset, where individuals believe that their abilities are static and unchangeable. People with a fixed mindset tend to view failure as a personal indictment and often give up when faced with challenges. In contrast, those with a growth mindset are more likely to persevere, learn from their mistakes, and ultimately achieve success. Maxwell shares a story about a football coach who, after losing a championship game, told his team that the game was only one part of their overall journey. He emphasized that the true measure of success wasn't whether they won or lost, but how they grew as a team and as individuals through the experience. This coach understood that winning isn't everything. What matters most is what you learn along the way. Maxwell also touches on the psychological and emotional toll that focusing exclusively on winning can take. When people tie their self-worth to their victories, they risk feeling inadequate, disappointed, or even depressed when they don't achieve the desired outcome. By shifting the focus from winning to learning, individuals can maintain a healthier, more balanced perspective on success. Instead of feeling defeated by a loss, they can find meaning in the experience and use it as an opportunity for growth. He highlights that true success is not a destination, it's a journey. And on this journey, every step, whether it leads to victory or defeat, offers valuable lessons. Those who focus on learning will always find themselves moving forward, even in the face of setbacks. Maxwell encourages readers to ask themselves important questions after a loss or failure. What can I learn from this experience? How can I grow from this? What changes do I need to make to improve next time? By consistently reflecting on these questions, individuals can cultivate a mindset of continuous improvement and progress. Rather than being fixated on the outcome, they learn to value the process and the personal development that comes with it. In this chapter, Maxwell also touches on the importance of resilience, the ability to bounce back after a setback. Resilience is a key quality of successful people because it allows them to keep going, even when things get tough. Those who are resilient are able to learn from their failures, adapt, and come back stronger than before. Maxwell suggests that resilience, combined with a focus on learning, is the true formula for long-term success. As Maxwell wraps up this chapter, he encourages readers to redefine success for themselves. Instead of measuring success solely by wins and losses, he urges them to see success as a journey of personal growth, learning, and continuous improvement. By shifting their focus from winning to learning, individuals can develop a healthier, more fulfilling approach to life and achieve lasting success in all areas of their lives. Conclusion: turning losses into lessons. In the conclusion of Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn, Maxwell brings all of the key lessons together, emphasizing that failure is not the opposite of success, but a fundamental part of it. He reiterates that every loss, every mistake, and every setback is an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not that the former never fail. Rather, it's that they learn from their failures and use them as stepping stones to success. Maxwell reminds readers that humility is essential for learning from losses. It takes humility to admit that we don't have all the answers and that we can always improve. He also stresses the importance of responsibility, taking ownership of our failures and using them as opportunities to grow. By accepting responsibility for our mistakes, we empower ourselves to make positive changes and move forward. Maxwell reflects on the importance of maintaining hope throughout the learning journey. Even when faced with setbacks, hope gives us the motivation and perseverance to keep going. Without hope, we may be tempted to give up after a failure. But with hope, we can see beyond the present difficulty to the potential for growth and future success. He also emphasizes the need for teachability, a willingness to learn from every experience, no matter how painful or difficult. Those who are teachable are open to feedback, eager to improve, and constantly looking for ways to grow. Teachability is what enables us to turn losses into lessons and ultimately achieve success. Maxwell concludes with a powerful reminder. Success is not defined by winning, but by learning. Success is about becoming the best version of yourself, and that requires a commitment to continuous learning and growth. Every loss is a valuable opportunity to gain wisdom and insight that will lead to greater achievements in the future. Call to action, turning learning into success. Maxwell finishes by urging readers to put the lessons from the book into practice in their daily lives. He encourages them to embrace failure as part of the journey and to approach every setback with a mindset of learning. He challenges them to view every loss as an opportunity for growth, to reflect on the lessons they can learn, and to apply those lessons moving forward. He reminds readers to focus on the process of learning rather than the outcome of winning. By doing so, they will build resilience, develop a growth mindset, and position themselves for long-term success. The next time they experience failure or disappointment, Maxwell urges them to ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? What steps can I take to move forward? Maxwell shares a story about a football coach who, after losing a championship game, told his team that the game was only one part of their overall journey. He emphasized that the true measure of success wasn't whether they won or lost, but how they grew as a team and as individuals through the experience. This coach understood that winning isn't everything. What matters most is what you learn along the way. Maxwell also touches on the psychological and emotional toll that focusing exclusively on winning can take. When people tie their self-worth to their victories, they risk feeling inadequate, disappointed, or even depressed when they don't achieve the desired outcome. By shifting the focus from winning to learning, individuals can maintain a healthier, more balanced perspective on success. Instead of feeling defeated by a loss, they can find meaning in the experience and use it as an opportunity for growth. He highlights that true success is not a destination, it's a journey. And on this journey, every step, whether it leads to victory or defeat, offers valuable lessons. Those who focus on learning will always find themselves moving forward, even in the face of setbacks. Maxwell encourages readers to ask themselves important questions after a loss or failure. What can I learn from this experience? How can I grow from this? What changes do I need to make to improve next time? By consistently reflecting on these questions, individuals can cultivate a mindset of continuous improvement and progress. Rather than being fixated on the outcome, they learn to value the process and the personal development that comes with it. In this chapter, Maxwell also touches on the importance of resilience, the ability to bounce back after a setback. Resilience is a key quality of successful people because it allows them to keep going, even when things get tough. Those who are resilient are able to learn from their failures, adapt, and come back stronger than before. Maxwell suggests that resilience, combined with a focus on learning, is the true formula for long-term success. As Maxwell wraps up this chapter, he encourages readers to redefine success for themselves. Instead of measuring success solely by wins and losses, he urges them to see success as a journey of personal growth, learning, and continuous improvement. By shifting their focus from winning to learning, individuals can develop a healthier, more fulfilling approach to life and achieve lasting success in all areas of their lives.